It's Monday, May 21st, 2018, and we're gonna do some Eezeey Gamer. So it's time for Eezeey Gamer. So what are we gonna talk about? We're gonna talk about things I want to see announced at E3, but probably won't. But these are things I want to see announced at E3. These are things I've been hoping for. These are things I wish for. These are things at E3, somebody make it happen. But they won't. But I'm going to give you some stuff I wish I could see at E3 2018. Maybe we'll see it at E3 2081. I won't be there for it. Unless, I don't know. Part of The Walking Dead, maybe. I don't know. It's like, it came from the grave. Came from the grave just to go to E3 in 2081. What a weirdo. And even being a zombie at E3 in 2081, I'm probably not going to be the weirdest looking person there. So, first thing I want to see that I won't see at E3, a new Lunar game. That's right, there was Lunar Silver Star Story, and there was Lunar 2 Eternal Blue. I want to see a new Lunar game. I haven't seen a new Lunar game in years. They had like Lunar Magic School or something weird like that. And it wasn't a bad, I think that the last Lunar game I played was like on the Nintendo DS or something like that. And it wasn't a bad game. It wasn't a great game, but it wasn't a bad game. But Eezeey 8 came out. Eezeey. It's spelled with a Y apostrophe S, and then there's a Roman numeral for 8. The Roman numeral is longer than the title of the game. So Eezeey 8 came out on the Switch. Or I don't know if it came out on the Switch. But Eezeey 8 came out, I think, on the PS4 and the Xbox One. I don't know if it came out on the Switch. But the Switch has been doing a lot of, kind of JRPG type games and smaller games and things of that nature. So why not somebody make a Lunar game? Kind of a throwback, they did it, I think, with a Secret of Mana, maybe. But why not do it with a Lunar game? You don't have to make the graphics look like The Witcher or something like that. You have it look like maybe a 32-bit or a 16-bit era RPG, and it can still look good. I mean, games on the PlayStation look good, except if you count some of the Final Fantasy VII stuff. But you look at Final Fantasy IX, and that was a pretty good-looking game on the 32-bit systems. So, or even just update the Lunar game. Do the original Lunar Silver Star Story just with updated graphics but still keep everything else pretty much intact. It was a great game. I'd love to see it come back. I'd love to see a new Lunar game or a remade one. The next one I'd like to see, backwards compatibility for Forza Motorsports 1 through 4. Forza Motorsport 1 was on the original Xbox. Forza Motorsport 2 through 4 were on the Xbox 360. I would like to see the Motorsport games made backwards compatible. Now, the reason you probably won't is because of licensing agreements. Licensing agreements with the cars, licensing agreements with sponsors, with some of the banners and billboards and tracks and everything else that are up all over these games. That's why you'll probably never see games like that get backwards compatibility, because I don't think Microsoft really wants to pay those people again to make a game backwards compatible that you're not going to get probably 500,000, 1 million people that are going to play these games backwards compatible. So it's not really worth Microsoft's money to make them backwards compatible. I'd love to see it. I would love, especially the original Forza Motorsport. I've played every other Forza game on the planet except for the original Motorsport because I never had an original Xbox. So I would love to see the original Motorsport get made backwards compatible, and then I would pay the $10 to buy it and download it to my Xbox One X. But once again, I don't think I'll ever see it, but I'd like to see it. Now, speaking of backwards compatible, another thing I'd like to see, I would like to see the PS4 become backwards compatible with the greatest console system of all time, the PS2. You put in a PS2 disc, and you can play the games on your PS2 or on your PS4. That would be awesome. But Sony seems to have this real hatred for its fans, and it won't do backwards compatibility. I don't know why. It's like if Microsoft can do it, Sony could easily do it. I mean, the PS3 was backwards compatible with the PS2. I think it was, and the PS2 was backwards compatible with the PS1, except if you had like the slim versions. They took some of that stuff out in newer iterations of the consoles. But like if you have one of the old big clunky ones, those were backwards compatible. So I don't know why Sony made the PS4. I guess it's because they make so much money off of just basically rebirthing these games and charging you $15. I mean, I paid $15 so I could play Final Fantasy VII again. So, I mean, there you go. So, I mean, they made 15. Now, I'm not going to pay a lot of money for any other games, but I wanted to play Final Fantasy VII again. I could play it on the PS4. I just had to pay, $14.99. I got to play it. So, I think it was $14.99. It might have even been cheaper. But I'd love to see it. I think backwards compatibility, I love backwards compatibility. I know it's not the most popular thing in the universe, but it's always nice to have the option to go backwards and play these games. I mean, Sony seemed to really get the lead in this console generation because Microsoft initially was talking about going to a digital-only console, which means there was going to be no physical media. So, and then all of a sudden Sony released the video where it's like, well, we can trade games with our friends this way. And Sony killed it. I mean, it was a great, it was a simple commercial, but it was a great promotional device because it basically said, yeah, I still want to trade games. I still want to trade in games. I still want to do all that stuff. Now, I think 4 or 5 years on from that, I think more people have gone physical or have gotten rid of their physical media for digital. But back then, it was a great marketing ploy by them because I think it really helped them take the lead in the console thing. And Microsoft's been fighting from behind ever since. I mean, just fighting hard from behind. And they've done some real great things to come back, but they're never going to catch that PlayStation 4 in sales. But I would love to see it. It's like, hey, you're sitting there touting how it's like, hey, we still have physical media. Well, why not do backwards compatibility so I can throw in some of my old PS2 discs and play the games on your system? Now, the last thing I want to see, I think there's a market for this, right? There's got to be a market for this. Back in the day, in the 80s, on the NES, all kinds of movies had their own tie-in games. But we never had a Ferris Bueller game. Where's my Ferris Bueller game? So I want to see somebody at E3 announce a Ferris Bueller game. Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Well, it's 30 some odd years past when that movie came out. But maybe you do Ferris Bueller's Midlife Crisis. He's much older now. He's in his 50s. I think I need... Oh, I shouldn't have let Cameron kick that Ferrari out the window. I would have loved to have had that thing. I think I'll go out and buy a Mazda Miata instead. Because he's got to go and buy himself a sports car or a motorcycle and all the hijinks that will ensue. And watching Sloane Peterson and Cameron Fry and Ferris all sitting around the table talking about how their ailments. It's like, oh, I went to the doctor. I had a prostate exam, and listening to him talk about, it's like, oh, is it hot in here? It's too hot in here. It's like, I can't eat this. It's too spicy. It'll keep me up all night. I'll get the heartburn. Just listening to him talk about getting old. Years later, I don't know if the guy that played the principal is still there, but I don't know. Just have those three kind of go through. It's like, we're going to go out and have a day like we did back in 1986 or whenever that movie was released. We're going to have a day like that again. And then just watch them try to relive their youth for one day and just watch them fail miserably, I guess, because when you're 50, it's hard to relive when you were, 18. But, yes, make a game about that. Or at least a movie. But you'll never announce a movie at E3, but announce a game. It would be fun to play the game. It's like it could have all kinds of dialogue options. It's like, it could be a nice little open world game where you go around and your prescription. Then you drive home after you picked up your prescription, and it's like you get home and the wife is mad because it's like you were supposed to bring home dinner. It's like, oh, but I forgot. Can we just make something here? It's like, no, it's like there's nothing in the house to eat. So you're either going to have to go get groceries or you're going to have to go get us something for dinner. I told you that this morning. You weren't listening. And then watch him go out and get it. Oh, it's an exciting game. It's so exciting. It's like The Sims, sponsored by Ferris Bueller. That's right. It's going to have the Ferris Bueller license. The Sims Ferris Bueller edition. Ferris Bueller's Midlife Crisis. Tell me if you wouldn't want to see that game. I can't imagine anybody would. But, so there it is. Those are some things that I want to see at E3 that I guarantee you we will not see at E3. But I'd like to see it anyway, because I think that Ferris Bueller thing would just be right out of left field. But, with all that being said, to the troops, past, present, and future, thanks for the freedom.